talk to you guys about Measure JJ, Protect Oakland Renters. I don't just like it because it starts with the first letter in my name, but that's a good selling point. How many folks in here know that Oakland has a rent control law? You're all wrong. Sorry. Downer, trick question. Everybody always hated that teacher. Trick question. Oakland has a rent adjustment program, which was written by landlords for landlords back in the early 80s. And we have struggled with that rent law for almost 40 years. The reason I say it's not rent control is because there is no requirement that landlords only charge you a legal rent. The rent adjustment program is a tenant complaint program. So if you do not file a petition within 60 days, even if you've been given an illegal rent increase, you've been harassed, any other illegal activity has taken place by the landlord, and you don't file a formal petition within 2 months, you are SOL. You have no other legal recourse in Oakland at all. So it really is not a rent control program. However, Measure JJ, which has been put together and proposed and being pushed for by a bunch of community groups like Casa Justa Just Cause, like the Oakland Tenants Union, like ACE Action, EVPO is with us, Oakland Rising is with us, California Nurses, CIU 1021, a lot of great folks here in the community have put this together because it seems pretty obvious that landlords, like any other business owners, should be the ones who are responsible for following the laws that regulate their industry. So, what would Measure JJ do? 3 major things. The first one is what I'm referring to right now. It would do what we call flip the petition process so that everyone in a covered unit would still only be allowed to receive a rent increase of the inflation rate, which this year is 2%. And if a landlord, for any reason, wanted to go above that, that landlord would have to file a petition with the rent adjustment program, go through the whole process to see if they can increase it above that amount. So they'll have to do the entire administrative burden, pay the fees, get lawyers if that's necessary, so on and so forth. And if there's a backlog at the rent board, which there currently is a huge backlog for tenant petitions, that backlog will stop landlords from raising rents rather than stopping tenants from protecting themselves against illegal rent increases. So flipping the petition might sound like kind of a lame, non-sexy administrative change, but it's a game changer. It flips the whole program on its head and takes it from being a sad rent adjustment program to actually being a rent control law. So it's a big deal. The second piece of Measure JJ, which is something that could only happen through a ballot measure, is the dramatic expansion of our just cause eviction protections in Oakland. So we have, this is not a trick question, how many people know we have just cause eviction protections? You're all right. Does everyone feel better now? So, just cause eviction says you can only be evicted for one of 11 legal reasons. Those reasons have to be documented, they have to go through the proper process. You can't just be kicked out because they don't like you, because you have kids, because they don't like who you are, or what you look like, which is what happens a lot around here. There's a lot of fair housing abuse. So, just cause eviction only applies to units built before 1980. This would take that year up to 1995, and that would equate to about 12,000 new units in Oakland, where you would no longer be able to be evicted for no good reason. So that's 12,000 units, could be, 20, 30,000 people in those households that would have a legal protection, legal recourse against illegal evictions. Relocation assistance is associated with that if you do have to get evicted. So we flipped the petition, we're expanding just cause eviction, and the third major point is that Measure JJ would make it a lot easier for tenants to understand what their rights are in Oakland. How it would require the city to mail out proactively every year a document on official city letterhead that says, "Hello, Oakland renter, this program exists, this is your legal rent increase. If you got a rent increase above this amount, that's not okay, and here's what you need to do about it." Right now, the only way tenants find out about this is if they happen to run into me or James Van on the street, or talk to one of you guys after having heard this speech, or they just don't. But landlords are supposed to send that information out, is where I was going with that. And of course, it's not really landlord's interest to let you know that their business is regulated. So this would make the city be responsible for letting tenants know that they have legal protection. What a concept. It would also create a database, require the creation of a digital searchable database at the city, so that all the decisions that are made by people at the rent board when tenants do have a complaint, or when landlords file a petition, that would all be documented and searchable. Right now it's kind of like, I don't know, going through and like getting the tiles out of like under the sand with your archaeological tools, and kind of like some of it's in Sanskrit. So this would really make it a lot easier for tenant attorneys, of whom there are many and who are really helping us and supporting us as well, people who actually support tenants in their struggles and work for tenants who are representing themselves. It would help advocates like Oakland Tenants Union to better support tenants. And then also, finally, on the accountability piece, the rent adjustment program would be required to give an annual report to the City Council in a public setting, to the City Council with numbers showing this was the eviction situation this year. This was the number of people who raised the rent above CPI. These were the issues we face. Right now, it's like, nah, not really. They don't really go above and beyond there. So Measure JJ, flip that petition, let's have real rent control, expands just cause eviction protections to 12,000 more units, and holds the whole program more accountable, helps tenants know what their rights are. Regarding racial justice, in Oakland, as within many communities, communities of color are predominantly renters. As a matter of fact, in Oakland, 70% of black communities and 70% of Latino households are renter households. So that's 70%. That's higher than the city average among white households. It's about 55% are renters. So Measure JJ is something that's going to protect all renters in Oakland. That's going to disproportionately, by definition, help communities of color. I also want to talk about the fact that communities of the whole problem we have with the rent adjustment program is a huge inequality of information and resources. If you don't know your rights, you don't have access to people, you don't have time, if you don't have lawyers, if you can't figure this out, if you have a bad educational system and it's too daunting, you're not going to get help and you're not going to be able to be defended. And those inequalities of information, sadly, in our country, follow racial lines in a really sad way. And so this is all about people knowing what their rights are, making the city be proactive to enforce those rights and let them know what they are. So that's going to help folks who otherwise don't have the resources as well. And I am happy to take questions like that. Yes, ma'am.
I don't know if I heard correctly, but I was at a city council meeting and I heard that 70% of the evictions in Oakland are African Americans. Is that a true statistic?
So the question is we've heard a statistic that 70% of evictions in Oakland are of African American households. I personally don't know if that's true or not. It would not surprise me at all given the statistic I just gave about 70% of black households being renters. But we do have over 1,000 evictions a month in Oakland, so I can't, and sadly it would not surprise me at all if that were the case. Yes, sir, Beth.
So how did they come up with the year 1995? I have been after that whole process that they should 1980. I mean, why?
Oh my God. Yes, absolutely. So let's be really clear. There's two halves of the coin here. There's the just cause side of it, and there's the, I'll just call it rent control side of it for ease of reference. Rent control, there's a nasty, it's a 2-page law, but it's a nasty one. The Costa-Hawkins law from 1995. State law.
Yeah.
So that's a state law that leaves Oakland stuck with the date that we originally created our rent control program. So unfortunately, there's nothing we can do about it at the local level. We are stuck with 1983 on the rent control side until we repeal Costa-Hawkins. So keep that on your list. On the just cause side, there is no reason whatsoever that you could not cover every single unit in the city of Oakland. And in fact, the reason that they called it 1980 back in 2001 or 3 when this originally got put in place in Oakland was a political calculation. People, I don't know, it'd be easier to sell it for people. Let's make it kind of the same as the rent control thing. So anyway, fast forward a few years. The community groups, including Oakland Tenants Union, that put together a model rent control measure for Oakland based on researching all of the different rent control measures in the state of California. Absolutely, we took that up to cover every unit built today on just cause evictions. If you want to know why it's 1995, ask your council person, because we unanimously put this on the ballot, and it was...
excuse me,
yes.
Development.
Yes, this would protect people from being developers.
All right.
But yeah, so the 1995 date was horse trading, basically.
Thank you.
Yeah, but it's still 12,000 more units, so that's fantastic. Yeah, but I'm with you. Yeah. Oh, okay. We're going to wrap up. Thank you very much for your time. Feel free to talk to Susan and I over there on your way out.